I think practice owners stand to make the most amount of money. I'll make a prediction here or a statement and you guys take over. Two things. Number one, I think individual practice owners are in the best position to make lots of money, like millions of dollars a year on a practice. I think you could do that. That's maybe assertion number one. And number two, I would say this industry being as fragmented as it is, like meaning there's so many practice owners out there, there's so many of these small ones, and private equity is kind of swooping in to kind of capitalize on that fragmentation. I would say that the second assertion would be that whole layer of practice owners, PT, OT, and speech, that entire layer of practice owners combined represents the biggest threat and opportunity to like the future of whatever this is going to be. Now, let me pause there because there's a lot to unpack if you want to, but I'm just long on this whole thing. I'm just so long on the whole thing. And I just find it really interesting how cynical practice owners are. So pause. Let's go wherever you want on this, because this is probably not the conversation you wanted to have today.
Take it on and I'll jump.
I'm 37 and I spent a lot of money on a degree. So I'm also long on physical therapy.
Yeah.
So no, I agree with you. I think that a lack of business knowledge makes people not see opportunities. What do they say? You don't make your own, luck doesn't just happen. It's the ability to recognize an opportunity, right? As a profession, don't have enough business knowledge forced upon us in PT school, or honestly, the desire to learn it, because there's people can get a much better job just by looking at factors of economics, right? So there are way less PTs than there are people who need them. Right. We have every single person on your block knows what physical therapy is. And almost all of them have an opinion on if they like it versus chiropractic or if they like it versus massage or whatever. So we don't have to spend advertising to inform people what we do. Right. And you just basically just open up something on the side of the block. You're going to get a lot of people because we take insurance and we're prioritized by insurance. So there's somebody subsidizing our clients coming into our office, right? So we have massive, massive advantages. And the hardest problem is that because we can't think like a business person, like an entrepreneur, like a venture capitalist who's like, well, what if we did this? And what if we pulled this lever? And what if we did that? We basically say, well, insurance reimbursement rates suck, so everything sucks. And we don't sit there and say like, well, okay, but maybe if I added fitness, or maybe if I learned how to market, or maybe if I, knew how to, like you said, if I don't want to be the one doing all the Facebook ads, at least know enough so that I know when a guy's screwing me for his digital ad spend, right?
Yeah.
And we just have practice owners that, again, you can make a good amount of money just taking insurance and doing it at, a decent enough clip, not to tick anybody off and have to rehire maybe once or twice a year, right? And we just don't have that ingenuity, right? And on a business sense, right? Now, the nice thing is I see that changing, right, with the new generation of PTs coming out. But the bad part about that is it's not there. It's slow, and we need people to kind of kick it in the pants.
I think too, real quick, I think a lot of it is from a healthcare perspective. You've got some very smart people that took a lot of time to get doctorate degrees in college, right? And there's a lot of paralysis by analysis, right? There's a lot of poor mindsets with that's been driven in there. And so I think when you start getting to a point where you're like, listen, I want to, like, if you have the capitalist mindset in healthcare, there's a lot of PTs that are like, well, that's not how you should be thinking. You should be thinking about like how to help patients. And it's like, well, hold on, if I can help patients and make money, that's way better than if I can help patients and not make money, right? Number one. And number two, show me the fucking physical therapist that doesn't want to make more money, and I'll tell you, you know what I mean? Like, the person who doesn't want to make any money, come work for me. I'd love to put you in a great system because I'll pay you nothing, no problem. You know what I mean? Like, so I think there's a lot of that aspect of like this martyring type of feeling. And I think unfortunately culturally, I think that there is an aspect of people thinking like, if you're making more money in healthcare, you're evil. And the reality is, like, look no further than that United Healthcare CEO, right? Just getting like whacked. And I think a lot of when we think about the aspect is, I wish more physical therapists thought to work backwards, right? Okay, this is the population I want to serve. I want to help these people. How can I also make money at it? And if you do that, you can create a business model around that. And just like to Owen's point, you can just problem solve that. So if I have a certain amount of people, like, you could do this. I was talking about this last year when I was teaching. It was one group wanted to work with, not like, they wanted to be basically a not-for-profit to a degree. They wanted to be like, all we want to do is help patients who have like, Medicaid. And I was like, okay, then think about this. Like, you got patients with Medicaid. That means like it's low income people. That means you have an aspect of maybe you're getting reimbursed $55 a visit. How would you get to a point where you can make money, right? Because realize that that landlord doesn't really give a crap whether you're serving people at $55 an hour or if you're doing it at 10, you know what I mean? Like, there's an aspect of how to build this system, and we got to build it, right?
Or put
And
it in
that's how you
their
gotta think
language
backwards.
of how do you get to the fact that you can treat more than just one clinician worth of thing, right? That's why I like to spin it on people where they say they're like, oh, I only want to do Medicaid in that example. And I say, okay, well, wouldn't it be much more altruistic and beneficial for your community if you had 6 locations that did this, right? Or like 6 locations that favored Medicaid, but also had 5 or 6 other cash upsells that would allow them to do this. And then it's like, oh, you mean I could be good for my whole region? Well, yeah, you can, right? If you just kind of, like you said, to get rid of that whole like capitalists are bad, right? Sometimes you got to speak their language.
And I think that paralysis by analysis, it's like, well, but I just won't make any money at that, and I'll just do it that way. And it's like, well, you're a ding dong, right? Like, I don't know how to else tell you that. Like, there's an aspect of just like, there's a way to also problem solve and build that puzzle. And all of a sudden, and by the way, it's okay that you do that. It's okay that you make money doing what you love to do. That's like what people do all the time, right? And so to your point about being long on the healthcare side, I think people are being really short-sighted in certain things. You know, it's a service-based business, so I do think that it takes time to build something meaningful, but that's okay, right? And like giving people that alternative to say, hey, this is what we're going to do and this is how you're going to do it, and really building a model and going back to the basics like we were talking about earlier is like, just find patients, acquire, figure out the next step, how to bridge this gap. Yes, there's going to be some pain. Yes, there's 2 steps forward, 1 step back at times. Yes, there's going to be patients you're going to that are going to leave you. Yes, there's going to be retention problems. Like, these are all things you just have to plan for and build structure around, because that's part of building a business. It's that simple. And then and guess what? You know what the coolest part is? As you start really getting the ball rolling, you can really get creative and start making a huge impact on your community.
If you'd like to learn more about Strata PT and see how our EMR and RCM works, head over to stratapt.com to book a demo.